Mark Taylor is my name, and at 38, I hail from the town of Paterson, New Jersey. My wife, Lisa, and I have shared marital bliss for 12 years, a journey that began during our college days at Princeton. I was immersed in the study of computer science, while Lisa pursued psychology. Both of us were raised in quintessential middle-class American households, with parents who toiled in blue-collar jobs. Our existence was unremarkable yet rich with contentment. Our union was once held up as the epitome of a successful relationship by friends and family, devoid of grand gestures but solidified by an implicit understanding and trust that seemed impervious to time. Lisa, at 36, is my junior by 2 years. She practices as a psychotherapist, a challenging role that she manages with a serene demeanor, often feigning indifference. Our abode is a tranquil haven nestled in a quaint town, and it's here we raise our 2-year-old son, Eli. He's the apple of our eye, though he can test our patience. Our love for him is unwavering, and he infuses our lives with profound purpose. Our days are orbiting around Eli, and despite the whirlwind of our schedules, Lisa and I ensure we dedicate quality time to him, confident in our role as dedicated parents amidst the chaos. It was a typical Tuesday evening that unfolded with the usual rhythm. Lisa was prepping to leave, and I was in the kitchen, the hum of her movements in the bedroom providing a comforting background. She was draped in a black dress, her back to me, engrossed in selecting a necklace. "Do you have a class tonight?" I inquired, seeking to engage her. She pivoted, a subtle curve gracing her lips. "Yes, I'm off to a Spanish class. I've been taking it, with the hope of enrolling Eli in a Spanish-speaking preschool," she shared, her eyes brimming with excitement, as if this pursuit was her current passion. The emotional chasm that seemed to be widening between us was disconcerting. My fingers moved methodically, slicing through vegetables, as an insidious sense of disquietude began to creep into my consciousness. I fought to maintain my composure, acutely aware that relationships ebb and flow, particularly when offspring enter the equation, introducing a new level of complexity and busyness. Yet, this feeling of disquiet had taken root long before today. My reverie was suddenly broken by the insistent ring of my phone. It was Ethan, my college confidant, on the line. "Hey Ethan, what's up?" I greeted him, striving to inject a casual tone into my voice. His response was tinged with an undercurrent of urgency. "Mark, I've got something to tell you. It might be tough to stomach." Ethan had always been perceptive about my life, despite the distance between us. He possessed an uncanny ability to discern the nuances of my marriage, privy to details I had kept to myself. "What's going on?" I queried, detecting a troubling vibe in his voice. "Are you aware of Lisa's whereabouts tonight?" Ethan hesitated, as if measuring his words. "She's supposed to be at her Spanish class?" I offered, attempting to keep my cool, though a tremor of anxiety was taking hold. "That's not the case." Ethan's tone grew more somber. "I encountered her at a party tonight, a swingers party to be precise. She was engaging with 2 men, laughing, and alarmingly close to them." I hardened, the knife nearly slipping from my grasp. The news was staggering, leaving me momentarily immobilized, as if a bracing wind had swept through, numbing me to the core. "You've got to be joking, right? Lisa wouldn't frequent a place like that," I exclaimed, my voice betraying my alarm. "It sounds unbelievable, but I'm confident it was her," Ethan insisted. "She was adorned in attire reminiscent of something you've described, and her voice was unmistakably hers. She appeared to be thoroughly enjoying herself in animated conversation with those men, displaying more than mere amiability. This was no casual affair." Ethan's voice conveyed a blend of helplessness and worry. I closed my eyes, grappling to recall every detail about Lisa, but everything seemed to be dissolving into a fog. The situation was incomprehensible. How could Lisa be involved in something so shocking? "Do you have any photos or additional details?" I inquired, my voice quavering. "I managed to capture some images," Ethan replied, pausing. "But I believe it's imperative you see them firsthand. I don't want you to be shielded from the truth." The world appeared to pivot on its axis as I clutched the phone, my thoughts dissolving into disarray. The necessity for verification was overpowering. There was no evading the stark truth. Appreciate it, Ethan. I'll delve into it tomorrow, I managed to say, striving to maintain a semblance of composure, even as my heart raced furiously within my chest. I placed the phone down on the table, my mind swirling with bewilderment and incredulity. The prospect of Lisa attending that gathering had never entered my consciousness. We'd certainly had our squabbles in the past, but I'd never felt the ground give way beneath me as I did now. Casting a glance back at Lisa, I saw her engrossed in sorting her belongings, entirely unaware of the tempest brewing within me. Lisa, are you certain that tonight's Spanish class is nothing more than a class? I inquired, my tone strained. Lisa turned, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Yes, Mark, merely a class tonight, she responded, seemingly impervious to the shift in my demeanor. I held my tongue, retreating to my vegetable chopping, my interior consumed by a profound, ineffable sense of loss. The future was a mystery, and perhaps I wasn't prepared to confront the reality. Yet one thing was unmistakable. This evening marked a definitive shift, a point of no return. The atmosphere that night seemed denser, every sound magnified. I stood in the kitchen, watching Lisa depart with haste, my mind mired in profound confusion and disquiet. As her silhouette vanished through the door, I was left alone, the kitchen echoing with emptiness. Her outings typically left me with a sense of intranquil, but tonight was distinctly unlike any other. Ethan's call had instilled an inexplicable sense of dread within me. I need you to hear this from someone else, so I'm seeking your confirmation first. Ethan began, his voice tinged with hesitation. Are you aware of Lisa's whereabouts tonight? My heart faltered. As soon as Ethan posed the question, a chilling forebode washed over me, as if a sudden force had struck. I gently settled into a kitchen chair, my eyes riveted to a knife lying on the table, my pulse quickening. She attended her Spanish class? Is something wrong? I inquired, attempting to conceal the unease bubbling inside me, though it was impossible to dismiss. No, Mark, I encountered her tonight. Ethan's tone shifted to a more somber note. She was at a swingers gathering. I saw her in the company of two men, laughing and chatting with them, appearing exceptionally content. I was stunned by his words. For a moment, everything around me seemed to blur. Sounds faded into the background, leaving only Ethan's words resonating in my mind. Lisa was laughing and talking with two men, looking extremely happy. No, that can't be true, Ethan. You must be mistaken, I refuted instinctively, my vision growing hazy. Are you certain it was her? I'm confident it was her, Mark. Ethan's voice remained steady, yet I could sense his own discomfort. I witnessed her with my own eyes. You know what she looks like, and despite how incredible this sounds, she was indeed there. I understand it may be hard for you to believe, but she was at that party. A profound silence settled over us, and my racing heartbeat seemed to echo in the quiet room. In that moment, a torrent of questions flooded my mind. How could Lisa engage in such behavior? Why would she deceive me? If she truly was at that gathering, what implications did it hold? Are you certain it was her? I asked again, striving to keep the shock out of my voice. I'm sure, Mark. Ethan's voice was more composed now, as if he was meticulously presenting the facts. She was dressed as you described, and her interaction with those two men went beyond a casual conversation. She seemed completely at ease, as though she had discovered something she was searching for. You know, I have no reason to fabricate the truth. Did you capture any photographs? I blurted out, feeling a surge of urgency. Despite knowing it was impulsive, I needed concrete evidence, something tangible to verify the truth. I took some. Ethan's tone was laced with resignation. But Mark, I believe it's essential for you to witness it firsthand. I wouldn't want you to miss the complete truth. The sensation gripping my mind was as if it were on the verge of erupting. I remained silent, my gaze fixed upon the knife lying on the table, my heart throbbing with a pain that eluded articulation. It was clear that I could no longer turn a blind eye. The phone call had exploded like a bombshell, fracturing everything into a million pieces. Lisa, the woman I had once cherished with all my heart, could she really have been at such a gathering? I fought to maintain composure, compelling myself to utter words with feigned tranquility. "All right, I'll attend." After ending the call, I found myself seated for an interminable period, utterly depleted of vitality. I peered through the window at the moonless night sky, the enveloping silence heightening a sense of solitude I had never before experienced. I couldn't reveal to Lisa the contents of Ethan's call. I couldn't let her know that I was privy to her secret. Perhaps she would choose to disclose it to me in time, but for now, I recognized the need to find my equilibrium to steady myself or risk everything crumbling. Rising to my feet, I approached the window and observed the periodic glow of passing vehicles' headlights. My thoughts wandered back to the years spent with Lisa, to the shared moments and promises made. I recalled our dreams, how Lisa always spoke of a beautiful future, of us walking hand in hand eternally. Yet now, everything seemed irrevocably altered. That trust, that dependence we once enjoyed, now appeared to have been shattered in an instant. I brushed my hand across my forehead, a cascade of images of Lisa flashing through my mind. Her smile, her warmth, her dedication to her family. I had once believed that we were each other's sanctuary, a steadfast, unyielding presence in one another's lives. However, Ethan's phone call had torn that apart, and the truth struck me like lightning, illuminating the chasm that had formed between us. I checked the time. It was nearly 8 o'clock. Lisa was likely already at her Spanish class. I made no attempt to contact her, to inquire about anything. Instead, I remained seated on the couch, burdened by my thoughts, awaiting the clarity necessary to confront the truth. I understood that this evening, a decision was imperative. Would I venture to the party and confront the reality firsthand? Would I concede that my marriage was already in tatters? Or was there still a possibility of mending something? I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, striving to clear my mind. But the decision lying ahead promised to chart the course of my life. The internal debate raged on as I contemplated the fated decision to attend the partner swap party. A voice within whispered caution, suggesting I was ill-prepared to confront the stark realities that awaited. Yet, an overpowering compulsion propelled me forward, rendering retreat an impossibility. Ethan's words resonated in my mind, and the vision of Lisa, giggling with abandon among two suitors at the gathering, lingered. She had morphed into a stranger, an enigma I hadn't foreseen. Rising from the couch, I seized my car keys and approached the door. The frigid air outdoors was hushed, as if the night itself was in anticipation. Each step seemed to weigh a ton, with every placement of my foot compelling me to face a truth I was reluctant to acknowledge. I hadn't given Lisa a chance to clarify, and the uncertainty of whether I was ready to hear her defense or feared it might exacerbate my anguish gnawed at me. The car roared to life. A gust of cold air rushed in through the window as I accelerated, my thoughts evaporating into nothingness. The scenario had played out innumerable times in my mind. What if Lisa had indeed betrayed me? The question lingered like an unsolvable enigma. Her actions defied comprehension. I had always clung to the belief that we were unshakable pillars for each other. But now, everything was alien. Arriving at the venue, the reluctance to step out was overwhelming. The warehouse appeared unremarkable, its entrance dimly lit. Murmurs of conversation seeped out into the night. A handful of people lingered by the door, and periodically, a car would screech to a halt, its occupant rushing in with averted gaze. An inexplicable aura hung in the air, one that goaded me to retreat. Yet I knew the die had been cast. After a moment's hesitation, I exited the vehicle. A bracing chill greeted me, and I drew a deep breath before heading towards the entrance. The guard offered a cursory glance, as though vetting my presence, but remained silent, merely nodding before granting entry. The atmosphere in the room was peculiar, fraught with an unidentifiable tension that seemed to hover over everyone present. Strangers filled the space, some were casually dressed, while others appeared more conservatively attired. The ambience struck a peculiar median, neither overly warm nor excessively chilly, as if each person was meticulously preserving a delicate equilibrium. I stood amidst them, acutely conscious of my displacement, feeling as though I had inadvertently wandered into a world that was not my own. My eyes darted across the room, my heart accelerating with each passing second. Lisa was nowhere to be found. Small clusters of individuals engaged in hushed conversations, and an occasional passerby cast a fleeting glance in my direction, but she remained elusive. A concoction of anxiety and dread began to overwhelm me, prompting a reconsideration of my presence. Was it wise to linger, or should I persist in the search for her? With resolve, I ventured further into the room, taking cautious steps. A gentle tap on my shoulder startled me. Turning, I faced a man I did not know, his eyes glassy from drink. "Are you here to join in the festivities as well?" he slurred with a grin. I'm here to find someone," I replied, my words stiff and my mind in disarray. "Oh, you'll need to look sharp," he chuckled, his words slurring together. "It's not that straightforward here." Mustering a smile, I attempted to disengage from the man and resume my search for Lisa. That's when I caught sight of her, a familiar silhouette in the corner. She wore the same black dress from earlier, a glass of wine in hand. She appeared oblivious to my arrival, her laughter and animated conversation with two men suggesting a world removed from her usual concerns. My heart faltered, and I stood motionless, the rest of the room fading into insignificance. There she was, so engrossed in her interaction, her smile both familiar and alien. How could she behave this way? How could she so easily cast aside everything and revel with such abandon? Her awareness of my gaze caused her smile to vanish. She looked at me, a blend of surprise and discomfort flickering across her face, as though she had been caught in an unguarded moment. She slowly set down her glass and approached me. "Mark, what brings you here?" she asked, her voice distant, as if the situation was unfathomable. "Why are you here, Lisa? You seem to be enjoying yourself so thoroughly, laughing with such ease. Is this the Lisa I'm familiar with?" Her response was not immediate. Instead, she hung her head, a look of guilt and confusion marring her features. I could tell she was aware she had erred, but I had no intention of giving her a chance to rationalize. I didn't want to listen to her apologies or entertain any unforeseen justifications. My heart had reached its limit. It couldn't bear any more of her explanations. "Do you realize I love you, don't you?" she queried, her voice barely audible. "I know I've slipped up, Mark, but it's been a long time since we've genuinely felt that way. Our relationship isn't what you believe it to be. You've betrayed me, Lisa," I murmured, barely recognizing my own voice. "You've betrayed everything we've shared." My tone grew incisive. "How could you do this? You've disregarded our marriage. You've disregarded everything we've built together." Her face drained of color, evident that she hadn't anticipated such a fervent reaction from me. I didn't intend it like that, Mark," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was just seeking something I'd lost. I didn't aim to harm you, but I can't carry on like this." Her words struck me like a blade. I gazed into her eyes and the woman I once cherished seemed to have vanished, replaced by a stranger. I was at a loss for how to confront her, or even how to confront my own feelings. I excused myself from the party, stepping out the door. The sky was dark, the moon absent, and the wind wasbitingly cold. As I left the party, my mind was void of thought. The icy wind whipped across my face, stinging, but I couldn't sense any warmth. The car was deserted, filled only with the hum of the engine and the sound of my rapid breathing. My thoughts were in disarray, emotions and ideas tangled like an impossible knot. I didn't return home. Instead, I drove to a nearby park. After parking, I leaned my head against the steering wheel, closing my eyes. Flashbacks of Lisa and the two men haunted me. They laughed effortlessly, their conversation light and easy, as if revealing a side of her I'd never seen before. There she was, chatting with strangers, her eyes free of any burden or guilt. It was as though she had already decided to abandon everything we shared. The idyllic memories of our marriage seemed to dissipate into thin air, becoming insubstantial. I found myself reminiscing about the years we had spent together, her beaming smile, her comforting presence, and the pledges she had once professed. We had experienced numerous joyful moments, as well as countless evenings filled with arguments over trivial matters. We had quarreled and evolved, each for the other's sake. We had discussed our future plans, including children, a family home, and destinations we aspired to explore. At that juncture, I had never doubted her, firmly believing that she was my destined partner, my soul mate. However, now those sentiments appeared empty, unable to endure the test of time. Throughout the years, I had strived to comprehend her thoughts and fulfill her needs, often at the expense of my own aspirations, in an attempt to meet her expectations. Yet, I had failed to recognize that her desires surpassed those boundaries. She seemed to have wearied of our union, showing no further commitment to our shared home or relationship. Reaching for my phone, I noticed the missed calls, all from Lisa. She must have been aware of my discovery, and each call felt like a sharp sting piercing my heart. How would she rationalize her actions? Would she attempt to defend herself or simply dismiss everything, as she had done at the party? I hesitated to speculate and had no desire to hear her excuses. Taking a fortifying breath, I decided to call her. The phone rang once, twice before she answered. Her voice quivered slightly, as though she awaited my words with bated breath. "Mark, where are you?" Her inquiry was tinged with anxiety, yet beneath it lay an unmistakable tranquility. "I'm at the park," I responded, endeavoring to maintain my composure. "I don't wish to return." You attended that party?" Her tone was subdued, as if she were already privy to my findings. "I know you're infuriated, Mark. I shouldn't have concealed this from you." "Concealed it from me? You didn't merely hide it. You betrayed me, you betrayed us," I erupted, barely containing my wrath. My voice was raspy with emotion. "How could you do this? How could you betray my trust so completely? I'm aware of your anger, and I acknowledge my monumental blunder," she replied, her voice reduced to a whisper. "But our relationship, Mark, has been strained for quite some time. I cannot continue in this manner." She had already decided her path, leaving me to face the unalterable truth. I maintained my silence for a moment, yet beneath the surface, my emotions were in turmoil. Admittedly, we had our share of problems, and our communication had been strained for quite some time. The sting of betrayal and the accompanying pain, however, were difficult to swallow. She spoke with a nonchalance that suggested she had already moved on, while I remained ensnared by the past, confined within the emotional jail I had constructed. "Do you comprehend the impact of your actions? You've caused me pain and tarnished the bond we once shared," I eventually articulated, my voice tinged with frost. "What remains of our connection is not the love you once professed but the stark reality that you no longer feel it, and you refuse to grant me even the most basic respect. Mark, my feelings for you haven't ceased, nor have I ever disrespected you," she retorted, her voice tinged with urgency. "I simply needed to rediscover myself. I feel as though I've lost touch with who I truly am." "Rediscover yourself?" I rejoined with a wry chuckle. "What have you truly uncovered? Betrayal, escape, the freedom you craved, all built upon my suffering and vulnerability." A prolonged silence followed, with only her measured breaths on the line. Perhaps she sought to speak but halted herself, her internal struggle mirroring my own. "Mark, I'm aware this is excruciating," she finally conceded in a low tone. "But I can't continue this journey with you. Our emotions, they've been extinct for some time." Her words plummeted like a stone in my chest. Her composed demeanor suggested she had long since made her peace with this decision, while I clung to a romanticized past, reluctant to acknowledge the present. I inhaled deeply, the pounding of my heart a stark reminder of my turmoil. I recognized that I could not persist in this state of conflict and anguish. I could not remain with her, despite my desire to salvage any remnants of our union. It was futile now. Lisa, perhaps you're correct, I murmured, the weight of my realizations settling in. Our relationship has irrevocably shifted. I no longer wish to dwell in this pain. Perhaps this is the path we must both tread. The weight of those 3 words heavy pressed in my heart seemed to seal the fate of our relationship with a resounding finality. It was a verdict I had delivered to myself, a conscious decision to withhold any semblance of false hope. The moments we once cherished now appeared as distant memories, as if I were awakening from a dream I no longer wished to inhabit. With the phone call ended, an odd sense of lightness washed over me, yet the ache remained. The end was clear. My horizon was now shrouded in ambiguity and doubt, but I was free from the shackles of a relationship that had crumbled. Casting my gaze through the car window, the world outside seemed to stretch into a vast expanse of possibilities. The unknown that lay ahead was daunting, but I had taken the most difficult step, one that signaled the close of one chapter and the promise of another. Walking away from Lisa was akin to stepping into a new desert, a phase of life both unfamiliar and challenging. In the days that followed, I found myself adrift, moving through each day with the zombie-like absence of purpose. Her smile and the haunting image of the 2 of them played on repeat in my mind, refusing to fade. Our home, once a sanctuary built with love, had morphed into a fortification of solitude, its walls echoing with the absence of her presence. I ceased to return to that place. The familiar surroundings, the bed still imbued with her fragrance, became a source of intolerable pain. Each step through the door, each moment suspended in the air, was a reminder of the ephemeral nature of our joy. I sought refuge in a temporary abode, Spartan and slightly worn, yet devoid of her essence. The walls were unadorned, the view a bustling cityscape, and the absence of our shared memories allowed me the solace of solitude and the embrace of future uncertainties. The initial days were spent in seclusion. Any attempt at productivity was met with an overwhelming fatigue, rendering me unable to focus on even the simplest of tasks. It felt as though my spirit had been wrenched from me, leaving behind a hollow shell. Draped in a casual jacket, I met Ethan at a cozy cafe nearby. His approach was always straightforward. He eschewed beating around the bush and seemed indifferent to my readiness for the impending conversation. "Mark, you're aware I'm in your corner, but you can't keep plummeting like this," he remarked as he settled into his seat. A wry smile crept across my face as I met his gaze. "I know I can't continue this downward spiral, but I'm at a complete loss as to what to do next." Ethan took a moment to sip his coffee, his eyes fixed on me with an unyielding determination. "You need to pull yourself out of this rut, Mark. You can't allow her to dismantle everything. I understand the pain you're in, but it's no excuse to let everything fall apart." My head bowed, and I succumbed to a moment of silence. Ethan's words resonated. I couldn't remain engulfed in sorrow indefinitely. I had invested all my hopes and faith in Lisa, only to be cruelly pushed aside. Now, I was faced with the daunting task of rediscovering myself. "What are your intentions?" Ethan pressed on. "What do you believe you're capable of doing?" I looked up, my mind permutations with hazy notions. "I want to start anew, to uncover the part of me that's self-reliant," I confessed, my voice quivering. "I'm seeking a foundation, not just to forget Lisa, but to reclaim my essence." "Then take action," Ethan urged, offering a supportive smile. "You can't linger in the past indefinitely, Mark. It's time to confront the present and take steps towards change." In that instant, it felt as though a voice within me spoke up, urging me to break free from the shadows of my past. Once brimming with dreams and aspirations, recent years had blurred my vision of what I truly desired. No longer the fearless youth I once was, I recognized the potential to grow stronger. Thus, I embarked on setting personal objectives. Initially, I focused on reordering my life, deciding to recommit to my career and engage with work that had previously captivated me. I began reconnecting with colleagues and taking on projects that reignited my interest. Despite still feeling a void internally, I knew it was a necessary step. Following days of reflection, I made a conscious effort to alter my daily habits. I enrolled in a gym to rejuvenate my physical health and started reading again, seeking inspiration in books rather than wallowing in the past. Whenever despondency threatened to overtake me, I reminded myself that this journey was about rediscovering my true self. Ethan suggested I join a support group, a circle for those who had endured the tribulations of relationships. Initially, I was reluctant to embrace this form of aid. I was convinced I could navigate my struggles independently. Yet, as I took my seat at the circular table for the inaugural meeting, I was greeted by faces mirroring my own turmoil, and it dawned on me that I was not alone in my disorientation following a relationship's collapse. Greetings, I'm Mark. I introduced myself with a tremble during my first session, striving to relax. I've recently exited a marriage, and I'm engulfed by a profound sense of loss. In that moment, the gazes of several individuals held a collective echo of my feelings: solitude, sorrow, and an overwhelming ache. We started to open up, recounting our pasts and sharing our tales. Each narrative was distinct, yet they all bore the hallmarks of similar emotional scars. One narrative that deeply resonated with me was that of Emily. She recounted the tale of her decade-long marriage that dissolved due to a lack of communication and understanding. Her journey of escape from that union, her gradual revive of self-assurance, and the rekindling of her zest for life were profoundly moving. Emily's narrative provided solace I hadn't realized I craved. Her resilience and valor instilled in me the belief that I, too, might find a way out of the darkness enveloping me. As the weeks unfolded, I found solace within the group's confines. Each gathering, filled with tales of sharing and listening, contributed to a sense of healing within me. It was there that I learned to release the past and its burdens, and to embrace my own identity once more. I came to understand that I wasn't irrevocably broken. My future was still unwritten and brimming with possibility. Ethan inquired one day, "Mark, are you aware of what you're accomplishing right now?" He continued, "You're living for yourself once again. You're rediscovering the vibrant, energetic person you once were." Indeed, I was reclaiming the part of myself I had lost. When I gazed into the mirror, I no longer saw a man defined by others. I saw an individual who had reclaimed the autonomy to shape his own fate. Despite the enduring ache, I recognized that wounds mend with time, and I would emerge more robust. In a quest to reclaim the essence of my being, I embarked on a journey to rediscover the elements that once filled me with a profound sense of fulfillment and purpose. Within the confines of my professional life, I directed an invigorated effort towards personal growth and self-improvement. Physically, I undertook the transformation of my body through diligent exercise and a nutritious diet. Emotionally, while the shadow of loneliness occasionally lingered, I learned to make peace with myself and find solace in self-acceptance. Life, however, has an uncanny ability to spring surprises on us when we least anticipate them. It was on a typical Friday evening that I found myself attending my regular meeting with a support group that had become an integral part of my existence. The comfort and relaxation I derived from being in their company were unparalleled. The session's theme was new beginnings, a topic that resonated deeply with me, as I had several recent experiences to share. "Mark, you look good today, Sarah," the group's leader, remarked with a warm smile. "Thanks, Sarah," I responded, striving to maintain my composure. Truthfully, I had been experiencing a newfound sense of well-being in the preceding weeks. My work life had taken on a more structured form, and exercise had played a pivotal role in restoring my confidence. Nonetheless, the moment I rose to speak, a faint unease would grip me, a lingering concern that I hadn't entirely surmounted the challenges of my past. Today, I felt compelled to delve into uncharted territory. Lately, I've been focusing on re-embracing myself. I began, my gaze sweeping across the room. I'm striving to reconnect with a part of me that I had lost touch with. It's a work in progress. I'm far from perfect, but I'm making an effort. For instance, I've started engaging in self-conversation, something entirely new for me. I used to attribute all my issues to others, but now, I'm learning to understand myself better. The nods and expressions of empathy from the group members were encouraging. Following the sharing session, we gathered as usual to exchange thoughts on the mundane aspects of life. As I chatted with a few members, a gentle tap on my shoulder drew my attention. I turned to find Emily standing there, her face adorned with a subtle smile. "Hey, Mark," she greeted me, her voice tinged with shyness, yet her gaze was warm and inviting. "You seem different today. You look a lot better." "Really?" I replied, an unexpected joy bubbling up inside me. "What about you? You seem particularly vibrant today." She beamed back, her cheeks flushing slightly at the compliment. "Actually, I've been exploring new horizons, trying activities that are entirely new to me." Intrigued, I inquired, "Such as what? Did you go alone?" Emily's nod was accompanied by a smile that carried a hint of self-effacement. Initially, it felt rather strange. I lack any semblance of dancing ability, but I suppose I took some satisfaction in the attempt. Her comment resonated deeply with me, as though she, like me, was on a quest to rediscover her identity. As our conversation unfolded, we discovered numerous parallels in our lives. Both of us had suffered in past relationships and were now endeavoring to reclaim our sense of self and break the chains of our history. Our dialogue gradually chingfong-ed, lightening the mood between us. Emily then proposed, "Why don't you try dancing too, Mark? It's quite enjoyable." Her idea piqued my interest. Perhaps it was time to venture beyond my comfort zone, to embrace something entirely unfamiliar. A few days later, I messaged Emily to inform her that I had decided to attend a dance class. Her enthusiasm was palpable in her response. "That's fantastic. I knew you had it in you." She even assisted me in locating a nearby studio. And so, that weekend, I found myself stepping into the dance studio for the first time. The dance class far surpassed my expectations. Initially, I felt disoriented, standing in front of the mirror, as the dance moves seemed like an incomprehensible dialect. I struggled to maintain the rhythm, my movements awkward and uncoordinated. However, the support from the instructor and fellow students discouraged me from surrendering. Watching Emily glide effortlessly beside me, I realized that this experience was more than just dance. It was a path to reconnecting with my own essence. Transformed by Emily's influence, I found myself embracing a fresh perspective on life. Her companionship acted as a gateway to a world I had never explored, introducing me to a lifestyle brimming with new possibilities. Our connection flourished, transcending the boundaries of our dance classes. We began to share weekend excursions into nature and casual conversations over coffee, discussing matters both profound and mundane. In her company, I experienced a profound sense of tranquility, unburdened by the weight of solitude. She imparted a unique sense of safety, making each impending encounter with her a cherished anticipation. One day, as we conversed, I confessed to Emily, "I've always prided myself on my self-reliance, believing I could face life's challenges alone. But now, I see the beauty in sharing these moments with someone like you." She responded with a tender smile, her gaze filled with warmth. "It's okay not to bear our struggles in solitude. The true essence lies in learning to lean on others, to place our trust in those around us." Her insights struck a chord within me, as I realized I had been concealing my own vulnerabilities. It was in that moment that I recognized life as a collective journey, not a solitary endeavor. As our bond intensified, our interactions evolved into a more organic and meaningful exchange. What started as casual friendship slowly blossomed into something deeper, a connection that resonated from within. The transformation was gradual, almost imperceptible, yet its presence was undeniable. Our growing intimacy was punctuated by stolen glances and the gentle sound of her laughter. Her presence evoked a long-forgotten warmth, a soothing balm to my soul. I eagerly awaited our time together, savoring every moment spent exploring new activities or simply enjoying each other's company. A lock of hair was tucked neatly behind her ear, her gaze locking with mine, brimming with a soft tenderness. In that fleeting instant, a tide of intense emotion washed over me. Words eluded me, I could only grasp that our connection had transcended mere friendship. "Emily?" I eventually spoke, my voice quivering gently. "I sense a shift between us." She pivoted towards me, her eyes shimmering with intrigue. "A shift?" she repeated, her voice laced with Yiwon. I paused, my mind swirling with a myriad of thoughts, yet I settled on the most straightforward expression. "I no longer perceive you solely as a friend." Her eyes glistened, mirroring an understanding of my sentiment. She beamed, cast her eyes downward, and whispered, "I'm aware. I've been feeling the same." In that instant, my heartbeat quickened. Emily's acknowledgement both took me aback and filled me with joy. Our bond had crystallized, offering clarity where there once was ambiguity. It was as if I had been granted a newfound sense of purpose, an opportunity for a fresh beginning. As days passed, we engaged with one another more sincerely. Even as we tiptoed around this nascent connection, I could feel the warmth and encouragement she extended. Every considerate action, every smile, alleviated my sense of isolation. Emily provided not only camaraderie but also a rekindling of self-assurance that I had been slowly reclaiming. We didn't hasten into a formal relationship. We let things evolve organically. We discussed our life objectives, exchanged anecdotes from our past, and contemplated our aspirations. Emily confided in me about a previous relationship that had caused her pain, which only drew us nearer. I recognized that we were both on the same journey, leaving the past behind and looking forward to what lay ahead. "Now, I'm beginning to comprehend how to treasure the people and things in my life more than ever before," she would sometimes admit. I nodded in agreement, experiencing profound gratitude. Life had imparted many lessons, particularly the importance of valuing the happiness that was readily available. Perhaps in the past, I had been too absorbed in my own sphere, neglecting to appreciate the warmth of those close to me. But now, I had learned to embrace and cherish, discovering the strength of love even amidst hardship. It had been quite some time since I experienced such profound relaxation. With Emily, there was no need to conceal my emotions. I could simply be genuine. I was no longer the shadow of a man devastated by a marriage that failed, but someone emboldened to reinvent myself and cherish the promise of a fresh beginning. "You know, Mark, I have this feeling that our crossing paths was destined," Emily remarked gently, her voice brimming with warmth. I had resigned myself to the belief that true love was a lost cause, but being with you has ignited a spark of hope. I'm beginning to trust that love can indeed be reborn. Her words resonated deeply within me. I was certain that my affection for her was not a fleeting impulse. It was a sincerely felt emotion, one that emerged after enduring considerable suffering and loss. My love for Emily was not a fleeting infatuation. It was a steadfast, authentic sensation, firmly planted in the core of my being. "I feel the same way," I responded, locking eyes with her. I had convinced myself that the capacity to love had abandoned me, but your presence has rekindled that ability within me. In that instant, our hearts intertwined, and any lingering uncertainties or fears dissipated. We acknowledged the arduous, unpredictable journey that lay ahead, fraught with challenges. Yet, in that fleeting moment, we had found solace in each other's company, warmth that we could share together. As we journeyed together, we edged toward a more gratifying horizon. It was on one such day that a revelation struck me. I was no longer the man mired in agony, but a reimagined version of myself, imbued with optimism and affection. The bond one shared with Emily imparted a profound insight. Amidst the most gut-wrenching injuries, there lies the power to rise, to welcome fresh love, and to cherish existence afresh. From the ashes of my former life, a new existence and a renewed love emerged, all catalyzed by my readiness to release the past, and to pursue with courage the individual I had once misplaced.